Hello, everybody. I'm here. I'm excited. We're going to talk about Critical Role. We're going to talk about their contact policy. We're going to talk about copyright. It's going to be educational, hopefully, and a lot of fun, hopefully. And, of course, they can see you still. They know you're yelling at me. We got a super chat from Inkboy2 that came in. I smashed the super chat button. You can't smash it. You can't literally smash it. You can only touch it lightly. Fucking weirdo. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm ready for this. There's been some controversy that went on around this. There's been some like craziness that's gone on around this, and I think there are people who do fan art and stuff that are very worried that they can no longer do that fan art, and we're here to like sort of clean up some of the rumors, some of the misconceptions, and hopefully we'll get to that sorted for people so that way they can have an easier or better understanding of what's going on. I am joined by Reverend Ruin. Reverend, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really good. You told me not to please not bug you during your intro, so of course I had to.
You had to do the thing. I like the bell, though.
I had to do the thing.
I like the bell.
That bell is purposely hidden underneath a stack of stuff for when my daughter's around, because she likes just going with the bell, and no, I'm not having that.
I believe that. My mom actually has a bell like that, but it says the beer bell, and her husband will go and get a beer sometimes for her, or she'll get one for him when they ring the bell. It's super cute.
In my house, that bell would very quickly end up shoved up somebody's ass.
Yeah, I believe that. Who are you? What is it you do?
Well, I'm Reverend Ruin. I'm a comic book artist, writer. I've run 2 publishing houses in my years so far. So this is actually right up my alley. This is going to be dealing with a lot of intellectual property, copyrights, trademarks, stuff like that. So, this is basically what I do, IP creation and entertainment. So, boom.
I like it. It's always nice when we actually have somebody hanging around who knows what the hell they're talking about, because Lord knows I don't.
They're asking you to up the gain on my volume.
I did that, yes.
Okay.
I should just put myself down, because for some reason I'm absurdly loud. There we go.
Yeah, well, you've always got your gain set at like plus 20.
It's not me, it's Steve. It's all Steve's fault. I don't know what you mean. Okay, hopefully that balances it out a little bit better, and we should be good to go. So I did remember Feline. I remembered to put it in view mode, so now it looks pretty instead of it having all of the ads and everything everywhere. It's like all nice and tidy looking. So shall we jump into this, as Matt Mercer may say?
Are y'all happy with my volume now after she put me up a little bit, or
We'll give Chad a minute to catch up.
Yep.
Sip my tea.
Yeah. Yeah, Chad's being quiet. Let's go.
We're good. They said we're good. Okay. Critical Role content policy, Critical Role artist. So this is like just an update to their content policy, because before they were very, very open-ended. So now it looks like they've tightened some things up. This was updated on September 13th, 2021, and it says, everyone at Critical Role is extremely honored and humbled by the interest our incredible community has shown in the stories that we tell, the shows we produce, and our company in general. We think it's pretty amazing that our fans want to create artwork, websites, and other projects based on our intellectual property, IP. Our IP includes any unique materials our team creates, things like the names of our campaigns, for example, Vox Machina and Mighty Nine, our characters, for example, Grog Strongjaw and Beauregard Lionet, story locations like Whitestone or Nicodranus, company slogans such as "How do you want to do this?" I actually do love that they made that their slogan. That was crisp. I like that. As well as
that's a decent one.
It is, right? It's almost as good as Don't Be Evil. Thanks, Google.
I like mine, which is Do You Want to Go Beyond?
Ooh,
Are you ready to go beyond?
That is a good one. Mine is Art, Get Some Fucking Culture.
Then what's your excuse?
Hey, I'm do as I say, not as I do, man. I don't know. As well as written content and all related artwork, music, etc. We are generally cool with projects that follow the rules outlined below, but we reserve the right to remove projects that, in our view, misrepresent these rules or use our IP inappropriately. We want our fans to continue celebrating our world and sharing their talents with the community, but for Critical Role, CR, to exist as a company, our legal advisors have suggested we establish some ground rules for how our IP can be used. Way to throw your legal advisors under the table or under the bus. It's just like, it's not us, guys. We love you guys. We're great. We love the legal team.
Actually, no, this is something that they should have done from the outset. They're basically
they should have done this
now
ages ago.
catching up.
Yeah, this is not. I've read through this already, and there's nothing in here that I didn't sort of expect were the rules already. So
this is incredibly boilerplate for the entertainment industry. It's very much run of the mill, nothing freaky about it. It's just, this is what they read like. Even if you go to Paramount Pictures or whoever owns Star Trek now, and read their content policy, you will find exactly this language.
We had somebody in the chat who was having trouble hearing, so I'm trying to rebalance a little bit and make it so both of us are just a little bit louder. So hopefully that will help.
That's Alucard. Ignore him.
That poor one person in the chat. It is Alucard.
Yeah, that's Alucard. You can ignore him.
Oh.
We all do.
Fair? Fair.
I actually did a drawing for him and somebody else once.
Oh, I did a drawing for him once too.
Yeah, it was a very long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, he's a sweetheart.
Also known as Michigan, where I used to live.
Hey. All right. What can I develop with Critical Role's intellectual property IP? Free stuff for the community to view, with some exceptions. Critical Role allows you to use, display, and create derivative works based upon Critical Role's IP strictly for non-commercial, except for specifically provided below, community use. Critical Role reserves the rights to use our sole discretion to deny anyone the use of our IP at any time for any reason or no reason. If we deny you the right to use our IP, you must stop developing, publishing, or distributing your project immediately. In all cases, the use of our IP with your projects must be appropriate for our critter community. Projects cannot be defamatory, offensive, including, but not limited to, anything transphobic, sexist, homophobic, racist, ableist, ageist, or harmful to others as determined solely by Critical Role. So, that's pretty normal. And that's very expected to me, because they are a very, very open-ended community that are we want everybody. We want to be as inclusive as possible. So I imagine they would get kind of pissy if they had their characters spouting racial slurs and beating up black people in Whitestone or something.
But yet they do allow the use of their characters for pornography, according to this.
Oh yeah, there's nothing in here that says, so far, that says your fanfic of them all having an orgy together is not canon. Or not allowed, I should say.
That's exactly it. You know, I noticed that kind of thing in this original couple of paragraphs. Mostly it's boilerplate. They're protecting their intellectual property from being used in means that they don't support. That's absolutely fine. Any entertainment entity will do that.
A lot of people also, even with individual characters that they create, don't usually, there are things that they just don't want their characters to be a part of because it doesn't suit them and it doesn't suit their character. That's one thing that I get about fan art with sometimes, because I love fan art. Fan art's fantastic, but once in a while I see something I'm like, that doesn't really make sense for that character, so it doesn't really, not that they shouldn't make it, it's just not for me.
Yeah, the fan art is, and the fan community, which that's what makes our art communities and our things that are based in the entertainment world, that's what makes it thrive, is the fans, the fan art, even to some extent fanfic. So, but you do have to put limits on it, or else they're going to be like, oh, anything goes with this. And
it'll get out of control, and people will start like basically stealing from you.
Exactly, and profiting.
I'm just imagining Sam Riegel sitting in this meeting with like the law team, like the legal team, and Sam's just like, but porn's still okay, right?
Yeah,
like the sex is still fine, right?
Yeah, we can have what were some of the names here? Beauregard and we can have Beauregard and Grog going at it. As long as we can have Beauregard and Grog going at it, we're good.
That is probably exactly what Sam said. But yeah, they haven't, there's like barely any limit on this. So they're just limiting, like, hey, listen, if you're making stuff for the community, make stuff for the community. You can't make profit off of it, but you can keep creating, which was what most people were doing anyway.
Okay, Alucard, who normally I ignore, actually said something that I want to touch on real fast here. Star Trek fanfic, enough said. Technically, no. If it doesn't go according to Paramount's content guidelines. And they are stringent as hell. They're more stringent than what we're reading now.
Yeah, this is very open-ended. I think they did that. They purposely tried to make this as open-ended to allow people to do as much as they possibly could without screwing themselves over.
Absolutely.
2, can I create a project that is commercial in nature? You may not create commercial projects, including any project that, without a written license agreement from us. So you could actually go to them if you wanted to, if you had a project idea and you wanted to work on something with them. You could go to them.
You'd have to do a full proposal, though.
Yes.
And you'd get screwed in the profit sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely you would. But it might be worth the notoriety. It's one of those things you gotta juggle. 1, crowdsource any portion of its funding. 2, involves a business or a legal entity. 3, gates the content with a paywall, e.g. Patreon, YouTube Premium, etc., unless it is also legitimately available elsewhere for free. Or 4, involves the sale of merchandise utilizing Critical Role IP. So if I was to do a stream, and I did a live stream, that you guys could super chat to, or you guys could find available elsewhere, or you could be a member of, and I was drawing Critical Role stuff, that would be fine, because it's not locked content. It's not only available through profit.
That's exactly it. It's like, say you've got your Patreon and you're doing a fanfic on there, but you've also got it mirrored on Drunk Duck, which is, webcomics that are available for free. That would be permissible.
Although, I don't see anything specifying that you have to tell people on your Patreon that it's also available for free, but, yeah,
That's actually implied in the language.
No, I mean, like, if you're a creator and you create on Patreon, you can run around telling everybody that it's available on Patreon, but you don't have to necessarily go around and be like, hey, by the way, it's also available for free here. People have to find that on their own.
It's a gray area, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly. There are these, like, little gray loophole-y type things when it gets to, like, legality to some of these sorts of things. Not that I would suggest you endeavor to walk that line, because if you don't have a legal team, I wouldn't recommend walking that line.
Absolutely true.
None of this is legal advice.
No, we are not lawyers. And we do not play ones on TV or on Twitter.
Or on YouTube. We prohibit the use of our IP in interactive games, apps, and downloads. Please do not take any part of our IP, example, characters' appearances, characters' abilities, maps, icons, items, etc., and use it in a game or app for other than your own private, non-commercial use. So basically, listen, if you want to put Grog as an NPC in your home game, go for it. You're not profiting off of that. I mean, like, your buddy paying for food that night is not considered profiting. But you don't be making, like, an app fighting game or, like, a tap game that has grog in it. We do not allow any projects utilizing our IP to appear in any app stores, including the Apple Store or Google Play, unless they have a written license agreement from us. So you can do it, but you gotta enter negotiations with them. No monetized novels, theatricals, or the like. You are not permitted to write, produce, or create any novels, theatrical productions, or other adaptations that include Critical Role's intellectual property without our express written permission. Fanfic...
Okay, actually...
Oh, go ahead.
That's very interesting right there, because they're making a delineation between this and fan fiction.
Yeah, there's...
Fan fiction can be done in a novel format.
Yes.
Sometimes, but they're saying, wait a minute, no, only a short form kind of thing.
Right. So this is... I think I understand why. People really like to cosplay these characters, and so I could definitely see people... There being enough people interested to do, like, a theatrical performance of those characters, which I would love to see, by the way. That would be super cool. But you can't profit off of it, and or you gotta go through them. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm betting I would love to read novels that, because, like, you've got, like, the Guide to Exandria and you've got Explorer's Guide to Wildmount now, which are both, by the way, if you notice, approved by Wizards, right? So there's enough information in these books that you could use it as a baseline for a novel. You could use it as a world. So it's the same way with, like, the Player's Handbook for 5th edition, and the 5th edition stuff basically being set in the Forgotten Realms. And it's utilizing most of the Forgotten Realms lore, which all, by the way, have many, many, many books set in those worlds. So it totally makes sense that they would want to delineate out novels specifically, because do not be surprised if you start seeing, like, Exandria novels coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'm totally here for, by the way. I'll give...
So, shall we move on?
Yes, fanfic is generally permitted and enjoyed by Critical Role. You know they're reading it. They're reading your fanfics. As long as the content is not monetized and otherwise follows the guidelines of this policy. So, no selling your doujins on eBay? Wherever you do that. You're not permitted to manufacture, promote, or distribute for free or otherwise any merchandise, such as apparel, game pieces, accessories, etc., that bear any Critical Role IP without separate express written agreement between you and Critical Role. And that, I think, is where you start going to getting sticky, where people do fan art and sell it at a con, or they make pins and they sell them at a con. Conventions are weird.
Yeah, yes, they are. I've been to a couple. They're extremely weird.
If you're making, like, body pillows of grog, you might get in trouble if they decide to go after you. You would lose that.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think most cons sort of operate. There's a little bit of, like, they turn a... like, you're not really supposed to be doing that, but a lot of companies just turn a blind eye to it because it's far more beneficial for them, for you to, like, distribute their stuff and keep people talking about their stuff than it is for them to go after you. But that's not necessarily always going to be the case, and so if you're doing that kind of shit at a con, you're walking that line. Critical Role on occasion collaborates with and licenses third parties for the creation and distribution of official Critical Role merchandise. These agreements are separate from the Critical Role fans' content policy. So, yeah, if you have an agreement, obviously things are different, and that will pertain to whatever agreement you've made. Passive ad revenue. Before we move on, you had anything to add?
No, we're pretty much, passive ad revenue. This is where it gets really interesting, because this is something that they are doing a little bit differently, actually, than some of the other ones that I've seen.
Yeah, a lot of this, I think they did a really good job writing this for people to just easily understand if you go and read it. And I think people tend to panic before they've actually read what has changed. They're just like, oh my god, things are changing, we can't do fan art anymore. And it's like, no, you're okay, you're alright. Your fanfic is safe. This is one of those exceptions we mentioned earlier. We permit fans to promote their projects on website streams or videos and passively generate revenue through appropriate advertisements, including pre-roll ads, ad breaks, and sponsor ad overlays. No inappropriate direct ads or sponsorships. So basically, they might not like it if you're getting like sponsored by Pornhub, which I would love, by the way. If I could get a sponsorship from Pornhub, like, that'd be super cool. I don't even know if that's a thing they do. We alone decide what qualifies as inappropriate, but if you won't see it on Critical Role, it probably is not appropriate. They're very friendly. They're not PC. Like, they're not for children. They make a lot of dick jokes.
So basically they're PG.
Yeah, they're PG-13. You know, they swear a little bit, but not even that much. And it's like, they don't drop too many F-bombs, I guess. But don't be sponsored by Pornhub. That might probably be too much.
Exactly. That's totally. Whoa.
Oh no, we've fallen. We've fallen and we can't get up.
I'll bring up my frickin' Discord to see what I look like. Whoa, that was interesting. Okay, there we go. I'm back.
Whee! It's always a surprise here.
Yeah, it is. This is my test stream before I go live with Claire later. So.
Oh, I'm being sacrificed. I see how it is.
Exactly.
We permit individual fans to solicit personal donations to offer subscription-based content while live streaming. So, again, we're back to, like, if I'm streaming talking about this, and I'm like, I'm talking about Critical Role content, I'm talking about their IP, subscribe to me and become a member and join my Patreon for more D&D stuff. I'm allowed to do that.
Actually, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is one of the things that's different between this and other content guidelines. Most content guidelines will be, nope, you're not making any money off of our shit.
Yeah.
But they're saying, you know what, this passive stuff, or you going through and pandering for subscribers or whatever, as long as you're making the content available for free, we're cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, as long as the content is available, you guys are allowed to make whatever you want. So this stream is monetized. This stream will get ad revenue off of pre-roll ads and stuff from YouTube. I can tell you guys to get some cool emojis by becoming a member and stuff, like Puck and Trigglypuff. But it's not behind a paywall. In other words, you may have your project behind a paywall so long as the project is legitimately also available for free in some other way. So if this video was part of Patreon rewards, that would also be fine because it is still available. Your use of Critical Role content must be transformative in nature, which this video also is, because we are explaining, commenting, and elaborating on what's been written over here.
Exactly, and I mean, we could harken back to a certain video that got derailed a few days ago if we wanted to, but we're not gonna do that.
Imagine how convenient that right after that happened, we have this episode show up. I don't know how did that happen? Weird. I don't control these things. Everything is chaos.
Read the bulleted list, because there we go. It's right on there. Transformative works include.
Yep. You cannot simply re-upload our content. You mean like a clip show might be in trouble? Examples of potential transformative works include Animax, compilation videos, Remix. Oh, hey, compilation videos. Actually, that's really interesting that they allowed compilation videos because, like, some of those get, like, insane views of, like, here's all of the times Kramer walked through the door of Seinfeld. I watched that video. It's amazing. And it's just, like, you see him develop that entering the room over, like, seasons, and it's hilarious. Yeah. Exactly. So you've seen, like, compilation videos of, like, every time Matt says, how do you want to do this? Or every time Laura killed roleplay, stuff like that. And I think, especially with, like, really long-form content, like Critical Role is, because Critical Role, if you sit down to watch an episode, you're looking at, like, 5 hours pretty regularly. Yep. Especially if you can just include the break.
There's a comment in the chat. Lots of print-on-demand creators are panicking, by the way.
Yes.
We were going over a little bit about what triggered this in the pre-show. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, and this is something that might get me in trouble with some people. I don't care. Because this is way of it. If you're a print-on-demand creator and you're creating fan art and you're profiting off of your fan art, you are treading a very fine legal line. And you can be shut down at any time because you're violating somebody's intellectual property. If you're violating their copyrights and their trademarks, they do have a right to shut you down, whether you like it or not. My suggestion for these print-on-demand creators and stuff, go create your own stuff. You're good enough. That much is obvious. You don't need to produce derivative works. You can produce your own original.
What I tend to do is I will make fan art to promote myself, make it available for free, as well as make it like, oh, hey, I did this fan art before as part of my... It's available for free, but as part of Patreon, I can send you like a nicer looking copy, basically. It's still available for free, but you can get it on Patreon as a reward. It's like a passive reward people can get. It's like any previous art that I've done. But I use things like, oh, I did this cool painting of you. Like, I don't own Ugandan Knuckles, but I did a cool painting of him that's available for free that anybody can have. Or I've done some League of Legends stuff, and I use that stuff to promote the stuff that I work on, and then people will commission me for usually their own stuff. So it's just like, oh, hey, I have this D&D character. I'm not an artist. Can you artist for me? And it's like, good, that's what I would do. I artist for you. That is the thing I do.
One of the things that I used to do was people create these elaborate costumes and stuff for their characters on role-playing games like World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings Online. And what they'd do is they'd send me screenshots to do a pin-up of one of their characters. And I'd do that for them. But I wouldn't then turn around and make that into a print. It would be of that character, they'd get the original.
Yeah, you know? And then there's also something to be said for if somebody's like, hey, listen, I really want to see this character in this pose, and it doesn't exist anymore. Can you make it for me? For commission. You can get paid for that if you make it available for free elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody's like, hey, listen, I want this painting of Grog, and I will pay you $40 to do it, and you go, okay, you paint it, take the $40 as a donation, and make it available for everybody to see.
$40 wouldn't even cover your paints and canvas, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm just... So one of the reasons I do digital art is because I can charge way less because I can just... Wink, wink, wink.
And that's one of the reasons that I do physical art, because I can charge way more.
Yeah, fair. It's all about what works, right?
Exactly. Each person has their own way of doing it.
Remix edits. Let's get back to the list, because we got totally squirreled by stuff that is actually completely, totally related to what we're talking about, which is unusual.
I know. It's weird. All of our rabbit trails actually lead back to this.
Yeah. Compilation videos, remix edits, added commentary. Hey! What were we talking about the other day? Music / music videos, cosplay content, art / draw-alongs, GIFs and memes. Oh, they put memes in. Memes have come a long way, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
Memes have come so far that they've made it into legal documentation.
I'm telling you.
What a world. And React videos. That's actually nice of them to put React videos in there too, because sometimes React videos are also walking that line of you're just playing the content.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I
You're
imagine
playing the content and you're reacting. Well, I would imagine that it'd be shorter clips of like, ooh.
That's what I think that they would probably like. I think that's why they've got like these more open-ended of like, hey, listen, if we deem it inappropriate and not to be following the rules, we're reserving the right. So that way, if you get something along the lines of somebody's just barely reacting and watching you play for 5 hours, you're gonna pull something like that. But if somebody's got like a clip show that they're watching of like this certain situation, this certain situation, then they might not pull something like that. For long-form content, Critical Role content, originally 2 hours or more in length, like Critical Role, Exandria Unlimited, and the one-shots. Yeah, they're all. I don't know if I've ever seen one that's under 2 hours long. Critical Roles allows passive monetization of under 10 minutes of content usage per episode. So there's your React stuff. They're limiting it by 10 minutes.
And I can't say enough how weird this is that they're allowing any monetization.
Yeah.
This is really out of the ordinary for this kind of content guideline.
Yeah, and it's nice of them to actually be transparent and clear about what they're saying, because they left these open-ended things, but they've also tried to be as specific as they can where they felt like they could. So they've given examples. So, unlike YouTube, who doesn't tell you shit about what you can and cannot do and what you can and cannot get away with, Critical Role's like, listen, if you want to do a React video or you want to do a compilation video, please don't take more than 10 minutes of our content per episode per video. So you could do like 20-minute videos and you could do a whole 2 hours. You just have to split up those videos and they're fine with it.
Actually, no, because collectively that would then be 20 minutes and they could nail you.
No, sorry. I mean like a 20-minute video with only 10 minutes of their content. So you've got 10 minutes of your own content and 10 minutes of their content, and you could cover the full episode. You just have to make sure that you've added enough, it's transformative enough, and you've spread it out as long as there's no more than 10 minutes of content per usage.
Vital Umo, actually, yes, they can. Because they're saying that this is passive monetized content. If it's longer than that, then yes, they can claim full monetization, strike you, get it taken down, and nail you for it.
They could actually do it. They don't even have to give you 10 minutes if they don't want to.
Yeah, they don't have to. They can put up and say, you know what, we're trademarked, we're copyrighted. You can't use our IP.
There's a reason why you'll get like a copyright strike for 3 seconds, like content ID striked for like 3 seconds of audio that a bot thinks is their audio, even if it's not. They can hit you for that, and like that's an old YouTube misconception, like an old one that's just like, oh well, if you're using under this amount, then they can't. No, they can. It's theirs. They own it. It's nice of them to give us 10 minutes. We've been blessed.
It's nice of them to give any monetization whatsoever.
Yeah, because they're not just giving this 10-minute for video usage. They're also saying you're allowed to make passive money. Like, they're just letting you do that. And it's just, this is not, like, you can't do this shit with Batman. If DC Comics wanted to, they could go ham and strike anything that's got Batman in it at all if they really wanted to. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be beneficial for them.
It'd be bad. Warner Brothers Entertainment.
Well, it depends on if it's, it depends on whether or not it's video or whether or not it's...
No, it'd be Warner Brothers.
Would it be Warner Brothers?
Yeah, it'd be Warner Brothers.
Does DC not, like...
Light Lumo, I'm going to correct you on this. Yes, they legally can. Okay? You can look it up all that you want. you're going to find out that this is actually a myth that you're putting forth. It is their IP. They can legally tell you, by the way, you're fucked. Okay? If
it wouldn't be
copyrighted
beneficial.
in trademark.
Yeah, the argument generally goes that it would not be beneficial for, like, Disney. Why do you think you don't see, like, much Mario or much Disney fucking anywhere, even if it is a couple? You use that. I'd try it. Upload the Disney opening logo. How long is that thing? You're not gonna get that out there. It's never gonna happen. But there's a lot of places will not bother because it's not beneficial. It's more beneficial to allow you to use it and get, like, more conversation going around them than it is for them to go out of their way and strike every single person. There's a reason why you don't see, like, a whole lot of Mario shit, right?
Yeah. Okay. Just real quick here. If somebody were to file a trademark or a copyright case against a creator, say Crit Roll went after somebody and went all the way to the court, it would then be up not to Crit Roll to prove that they were violated, but it would be up to the defendant to prove that they did not violate.
Some things, although the thing is with when it comes to copyright stuff, and it sounds really weird because it's like, here's where it's transformative in and how it be viewed by a court. Like there was that whole thing with Thunderfoot that happened recently where somebody used Thunderfoot used somebody's video without crediting them, and they were like, I'm gonna take you to court, and it was covered by Leonard French, and Leonard French was like, he's gonna win. Like, Thunderfoot's not gonna win this. The other guy owns that video, and he didn't make it transformative. He didn't credit him. He didn't. If he wants it, he's got it, right? And it's like, now it might seem ridiculous to even, like, to artists or even to, like, people who don't do this thing on the regular, and it is when it comes to, like, a realistic point of view. But I mean, the law is weird. The law is weird sometimes and doesn't really play out the way you would think it would, because who the fuck's gonna go to court over 3 seconds? But if you do, you're gonna lose. Right?
Smitty, I have to Smitty's got my comment of the entire stream already, and we're not even through with it.
Yep.
Smitty, the NES controller sucks? Okay, well, Smitty, you're number 1 in my book, bud.
Oh boy. I like the Super Nintendo controller. Alright, so Critical Role may claim monetization or execute an automatic takedown for over 10 minutes of content usage per episode. It is just really nice of them to give 10 minutes, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just like, thank you! We've been blessed. For medium-length Critical Role content, originally between 1 to 2 hours in length, so like between the sheets and narrative telephone, Critical Role allows your passive monetization for under 5 minutes of content usage per episode. Critical Role may claim monetization or execute an automatic takedown for over 5 minutes of content usage per episode. For short Critical Role content, 60 minutes, like Handbook Helper and All Work No Play, Critical Role may claim monetization or execute an automatic takedown, which includes any clips or memes. So basically, they're like, hey, listen, the longer our content is, the more we're allowing you to use. The shorter it gets, the less we're allowing you to use. You're welcome. And everybody needs to be, thank you, Daddy. Yep.
That's the whole point of everything here that we've been discussing, is that the fact that they're even giving creators this much under the current copyright and trademark laws is massive. Specifically
in America also. Because there's also international issues that come into play. Like, there's a reason why Critical Role was having trouble if you were like doing one of their contests while you were watching live, and they were like, we're gonna give you the player's handbook if you unless you're in Quebec. And they're just like, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, but to be fair, even Canada says fuck Quebec at this point.
You know, I love them, but goddamn it, guys. I feel the same way about, like, Alberta, though. I'm just like, guys, please. Why?
Hey, Alberta is where the Hart family's from. So, I like Alberta.
Alberta's where all the Trumpers are.
Okay, fuck Alberta.
Actually, there's a good number of them out east too. It's actually really interesting. There's just like little speckled pockets. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, can my project make reference to Critical Role? Puck. What is your problem? Can my project make reference to Critical Role? We'd love that. Just make sure that your project follows the other guidelines in this policy and clearly let people know it is a fan project and not an official Critical Role project. So, like, if you're playing The Witcher and you ran across, like, a Grog character as a joke, as a reference, and he's not really called Grog, he's not called Grog Strongjaw, he's called Strong Grogjaw, like, they would be fine with that. It's, like, clearly, like, parody-ish. It's clearly, like, we're referencing you. We're not stealing from you. We're not monetizing off of you. We have our own game. We just wanted to give, like, a little shout-out over here. You'd be fine to do it. That is, you are not permitted to state or imply that your projects are affiliated with, sponsored, or approved by Critical Role. Yeah, don't say you're affiliated with shit when you're not. I mean, I imagine some people could, given, like, the way that Guardian Project thing was going on Twitter, and the way, like, they had the Guardian Project, the official project, and then people on Twitter that were part of, like, a group of Guardians that kind of latched themselves onto that IP, and, like, and onto that project, could end up accidentally getting themselves in some serious legal trouble if they start running around doing shit saying that they're affiliated with that show. Right?
Exactly.
You may not create a project in a manner that could cause other critters to believe that it is an official Critical Role work. If you share your project with others, please conspicuously include the following disclaimer on your project website. Portions of the material used may contain trademarks and or copyrighted works of Critical Role. The material is not official, is provided for free, non-commercial entertainment purposes only, and is not endorsed by Critical Role. So, like, if you were to do, like, a big animation project and you were like, oh, I'm just gonna do, like, a big opening to Critical Role, but I'm not affiliated with them, I just want to make it, you can do that, but don't trick people into thinking you're working for them. Just throw that disclaimer at the beginning. Good to go.
Well, it can be anywhere on your website. It can be hidden in the minutiae of privacy policies in terms of use.
No, they did say, like, make it visible.
Oh, it's conspicuous.
Yeah.
Conspicuously. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, I'd put that on the homepage then.
Yeah, on the homepage, at the beginning of the video.
Or even in your, thinking of sites, beginning of your video, your footer.
The description.
Yep, exactly.
Can I create, like, if I was making a video, I would probably want to do both. I would probably want to put it at the beginning of my video, and I would want to put it in my description. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You want to be covered because you don't want to be struck for it. You have to edit it and go through all the crap with it. I mean... So.
Well, I also don't want to lie to people. Also that. But this little bit here is almost more like they're trying to protect the fan base from being taken advantage of and donating to projects that they think are related to, and getting scammed. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I create Critical Role related video content before the content is available on the Critical Role's YouTube channel? No, please be considerate.
This one is just, to me, freaking stupid. If you know...
Yeah.
If you know spoilers... Don't fucking put them up.
Yeah, don't spoil people. Don't be a dick. That's what this one is. This one is just don't be a dick. Don't make your compilation video before the video's available for people to watch, because not everybody gets to watch live. Yeah, no, please be considerate. So it's clear any posting or otherwise unauthorized disclosure of Critical Role content, Critical created content prior to its official release on YouTube or an authorized media sharing platform. So, like, if YouTube goes down and they put it somewhere else, is strictly prohibited. In regards to spoilers, even after an episode's release, spoilers can ruin a fan experience, and we always aim to avoid them. Please be respectful of others and do not deliberately push plot reveals on people who are actively avoiding learning about them. If you are releasing fan content after its official release on Critical Role YouTube channels, we ask that you please offer spoiler disclaimers or appropriate hashtags as a courtesy. We're not going to sue you, but don't be a dick.
Yep.
What about Critical Role fan art that's shared publicly during or after a live stream RPG broadcast and before the VOD is available on YouTube? Boy, we love ourselves some amazing critter fan art. We also want to ensure that artists are taking every precaution not to spoil an episode before its official release on Critical Role YouTube channel. Please ensure that your artwork is not audio-visual in nature and follows the guidelines set forth in the policy. Again, as a general courtesy, please include spoiler disclaimers or appropriate hashtags wherever possible. Please don't be a dick. So, like, if you find out that a character is something other than they claimed. I actually figured that out incidentally. There's a painting I did of Not, Sam's character from The Mighty Nine, so season 2. And this was right when it started, and I did a live stream, and I was just painting Not. And I was talking about kind of Not's character design, and I was like, Not doesn't... There's some features on Not that don't look like a goblin. Like, there are features on Not that look like a gnome. They don't look like a goblin. And then, like, months later, months down the line, it turns out, looks like some shenanigans happened and I was right. And I'm not spoiling that. I didn't know that. I didn't draw any kind of transformative, like, look, here's what Not would look like if Not was a gnome or something else. No, I didn't spoil anything.
No, and once again, that's an incidental. You know, that's something that's incidental and not purposeful. So therefore, it's really not, it doesn't even apply.
Yeah, so if you do, like, commentary about, hey, I saw this in the show and I want to talk about it, and it's not spoiler related, but I'm speculating and I'm theory crafting, you'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Is all content in Critical Role video available for use? No, certain Critical Role videos contain music or other content that Critical Role doesn't own. Critical Role at times enters into licenses with third-party content providers to enhance Critical Role's videos for viewing. I remember when that first started. That first started during Campaign 1 when they started using music for combat, and they got permission from people to use that music. And so, if you're using those episodes and you've got that music playing, they don't own it and didn't give you permission. They got permission separately, so you have to go get permission separately. Complicated.
Yeah, exactly. That's
pretty... Letty asks, what do they mean by audio visual? If I'm not mistaken, it means that, like, if there is... Well, I think it means two different things, or can mean two different things. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, because now I'm getting into, like, a little bit speculatory. You can draw art that gives out audio, like, what's going to happen, right? So, if you have text or a comic strip, anything like that, that has spoilers in it, and if I were to draw a character... So if I were to paint the Beast from Beauty and the Beast transforming into a human before the movie came out, and before the book came out, whenever the hell that happened, that might be considered, like, huge spoilers, because that's a big scene in the movie. But yeah, you can have, like, text in your title, or if you're putting speech bubbles, if you're talking about it while you're doing the art, depending on if you're making a video, stuff like that.
Please ensure that your artwork is not audio-visual in nature and follows the guidelines set forth in this policy. Audio-visual, yeah, exactly that, or like the e-cards you can send are considered audio-visual.
Yep.
Things like that are audio-visual. You're using both audio and visual at the same time, or you can then break that apart and say that, text is comic strip is audio-visual because you're, reading it.
You're reading what is transcribed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, certain blah 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 blah. Since Critical Role cannot Puck. He's not. Look at. He's laying on the couch. He's not even. He doesn't even care. What are you even barking about? You don't even know.
No, he
doesn't. He doesn't. Since Critical Role cannot grant you a license to use someone else's content, you'll need to get permission from the copyright owners before using their content. If you include non-Critical Role music or other content in your video, do so at your own risk. They're just like... Your video could be subject to filtering or takedown notices by the owner of the copyright in the original work. And here's them just helping you out. Like, hey, look out for that. Can I use Critical Role's logos or trademarks? Generally, no. And only in limited instances. Use the Critical Role's brand logos, characters' names, actors' names, actor and characters' likenesses in your IP are only to be used in connection with the discussion of Critical Role works. So if I was to put the Critical Role logo in my thumbnail because we're sitting around discussing Critical Role, we'd be fine. We would be okay because it's just referencing. It's like if I put McDonald's in my... Remember that I think there was a guy on one of my comment sections, hey, can you please take down my picture because the artist is asking that my face not be in your thumbnail, and I was like, why?
Well, no. What's really interesting is that only the artist could have made that request legally.
Right.
So, the way that entire situation was wrong from the very start, and the person was in the wrong from the very start, even making that comment.
Yeah, it was like you get this... you're not going to get copyright struck for putting some, like, the Critical Role logo on your thumbnail. But if you're stamping it onto a button and selling it, then you're going to get in trouble. Don't do that.
Yep, exactly.
Official products and non-commercial projects in compliance with this policy. Critical Role expressly prohibits the use of its trademarks to promote your business or merchandise. Yeah, don't use them to sell your shit. Do it on your own. You may not register domain names, social media accounts, or similar stuff that uses any of our trademarks, trade names, character names, etc. without express written content. Don't pretend to be them on Twitter or pretend you're affiliated with them on Twitter.
Basically, what they're saying is don't impersonate the fuck out of us.
Yeah, you definitely may not use any Critical Role trademarks as keywords, titles, or search tags for products that are infringing or counterfeit. So, like I said about the buttons.
Keywords are a little iffy, though. The titles or search tags, yeah, those are definitely major. But to go back to, the full name of Beauregard, what's his face? If you use that as a keyword, then yeah, they could come after you. But if you just use Beauregard, they couldn't.
Yeah, but at the same time, they specified. So, like, if I use Critical Role in my tags on my video because I'm discussing Critical Role, that's fine. What's not fine is if I was making or selling a product that was infringing on the policy, which I'm not, or if it was counterfeit.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question in chat last night about number 9, so this is something that I've been looking forward to looking at.
Glorious. Can Critical Role use my project? Yes. We want fans to create and share cool things with each other, and we want to remove barriers to sharing. Because you are using Critical Role IP, if we celebrate or spotlight a fan project or make something that somehow resembles a fan project by posting it publicly, you give Critical Role permission to spotlight or share your project with the world. By using Critical Role IP in the creation of your project, you give Critical Role authorization to share your project in any way at our sole discretion. Critical Role will always attempt to contact artists in these instances and or provide proper artist credit wherever possible.
Okay. Can they use your project? Yes. But what they're saying is that they will limit themselves to just celebrating or spotlighting. They're not saying that they're going to use it to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Okay. The question was asked, how can they say that they're making money off of them? Well, number one, can they make money off of somebody else's work? Yes and no. They would have to then compensate the creator of the work, even though it's their IP.
Mm.
It would have to be compensated if they were going to use it as, say, a fan art drawing as merchandise. It would have to
Yes,
enter
if there,
into.
yeah, there's a difference and you start selling it as merchandise. I think the main thing they're referring to, if you've ever watched Critical Role, during their break, they have like a big ass folder of fan art and they just like cycle through all the fan art and show it. They're not making
Absolutely.
money off of that. They are featuring you.
That's
There's
exactly it.
Difference.
And
yeah.
there's a huge difference, and anybody who wants to argue that is pretty ridiculous, actually, because you're getting a massive push from these people that are sharing your fan art.
I also would like to point out that I've been featured on that show. So when they say that they will try to reach out to artists, they do. I got a message from Liam O'Brien back in campaign 1 asking, because he saw a painting that I did, and he's like, hey, I really liked your painting. Can we feature it? Is there any tags you think that I should that I can use to put in there to send people your way? It was amazing. He was lovely. And so they do. It's not like this isn't an empty thing that they say. No, they do it. They try. At least.
Exactly. You know,
I didn't say no, so I don't know what happens if you say no. I imagine they go, okay, and then whatever, and move on because they've got so much to work with.
Yeah, it's not going to be any skin off their nose if you refuse. They're just going to be, okay, well, then we're not going to use, or we're not going to showcase this person.
Right.
So.
10. What if my project is not covered here? If your creative efforts are not covered by this policy, you'll need our prior written approval before you put it out into the world. If you have any questions or creative content you want to make that isn't covered by this policy, contact us by sending an email to info@criticalrole.com. Written approval is required for projects that are outside the scope of this policy. If you don't hear from us, it does not mean we approve of your requested use of our IP.
And when I first read
People
this,
are
in fact,
dumb.
I don't
I
know if
believe
it
that.
still is. I need to go all the way down here. Not is underlined on my screen. Switching over to looking at the actual page. Not is underlined. So yeah, it's no. It's like don't assume permission where none is given.
Yes, yeah, definitely that. People do that shit all the time. Do not assume. Don't do it. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
But like with how open and straightforward and how much they're willing to give to the community to allow them to do, if you're working on a project, just reach out. They see like they're everything that I've seen in this is like we want you to be able to make whatever you want, but we have to protect ourselves. So reach out to us so we can work together to like they said up here about barriers. They want to remove these barriers. So talk to them, communicate with them, because they want to help me to help you.
And to be honest, a lot of these kinds of communities is this is what we want. This is what the creators want. We want you to reach out and participate in the universe that we've created. We want you to have fun in it, but at the same point, we don't want you to screw us over, you know?
Yeah, I would bet if you had like a proposal for a novel that took place in Exandria and you sent them your proposal, they would probably look at it and then maybe talk to you about it. I can't speak on whether or not they would take it or whether or not they might have their own book stuff in the works. So maybe they would invite you to be part of some project for all you know. You don't know what the fuck's going on in the background. Go ask!
That's exactly it, and it's better to ask. It's better to contact these creators, these companies, and go, you know what, how do I submit a proposal for a project to you guys? What's the best way to do this?
Actually, I might just send them that email and then go over their answer.
There you go. I mean, it's definitely worth a try. I mean, or send them, you know, what would you do in this situation and go over their answer.
Yeah.
Or invite them on.
Actually, yeah, I could do that also.
They'd say, what's the worst thing that had happened? They'd say no.
Or they don't answer.
No.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Anything else? Yes, Critical Role reserves the right to change this policy at any time with no notice whatsoever. Yeah, that's normal. But we'll do our best to communicate any changes widely as soon as we can in the interest of remaining transparent with you. And I would say that they did a good job. Like, of making people aware that their policy had changed. They made a good job, they did a good job of writing this in a comprehensive way. They were very open-ended about like the time up here that they allotted. They're like they're clearly being as transparent as giving as much as they possibly can. So I'd say that this whole thing, they made their contact available. Some people don't. Some people make it very, very hard to contact them about anything. Like, for instance, YouTube. If YouTube's customer service is a Twitter account. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, and to get the attention of that Twitter account is like pulling teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Please note that we are constantly developing new content and creating new IP that will fall under these guidelines. So yeah, Critical Role Campaign 3 will fall under this. Whatever new show they come out with will fall under this, yada, yada, yada. That's, of course.
Yeah, this is very much a boilerplate ending, except for the fact that this next paragraph here, which I'll give you a break now that we're at the end.
No, go for it.
Thank you so much for your attention to this policy. Our main goal is to ensure that the Critical Role community remains creative and vibrant as it's always been. Our content policy will protect what we own for the long haul so that we can continue to create magic for all of you for many years to come. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to us at email or via webpage. The fact that they're putting actual contact information in here is pretty astounding. Usually it's buried in a privacy policy or a terms of use, but they're being transparent, and that really impresses me. I mean, most of the stuff in here is boilerplate. There are a couple of surprises that surprised me to this date when I read this. I first heard about this a few days ago, and every time that I read through it, it's like, you know what? These people are giving you a lot of leeway that they don't have to.
Yeah, no, they are. They're giving a lot of leeway. They're giving a lot of how to get back to, how do you get this information, how do you go to one thing or the other. They're if you have questions, just talk to me. Let's talk about it.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So.
Yeah, and I can't imagine this being written any better for people to understand. Like they've done such a good job of just making this clear and concise.
Oh, we could. It'd take me probably about 10 minutes, but I could find a content policy that is just atrocious.
Oh well, take for example, go look at YouTube's content policy. Nobody knows what's going on YouTube. Nobody ever knows what the rules are on YouTube. It's so broad and oddly specific vague. You know what I mean when something is specific vague? It's like we've said something specific, but it's so open-ended that I don't know what you mean. And it's like the whole thing is like that. So this is so clear, this is so concise, and they've given very, very clear examples for what, like, the scope that they're talking about in. So I just hope people recognize that they're doing their best, sir. Now, the way this policy content, this update sort of came about, is related to some controversy that went on, which was kind of like some of the most absurd controversy I've ever seen. I'm not going to go and do a deep dive here. I will put some, because this is just a live stream and we're just going to chat about it a little bit. So there's going to be, don't take my word as law on this. Take it with a grain of salt and do your own research about it if you want to. I'll throw some links in the chat. Or in the description. I'm still looking into it. So from my understanding, there was a streamer, a Twitch streamer, who tried to claim that Amy Carrero's character in Exandria Unlimited, named Opal, was a ripoff of her character. And the reasoning was essentially, my character has opalescent translucent hair and was also named Opal.
Okay, what that is legally called is an incidental similarity.
Yes, they happened to look alike. It was not a ripoff. It was just sometimes characters. Oh, you made a barbarian that's a big guy with tattoos? Okay. You don't own big man with tattoos. Sorry. More information as it came out. It turned out that due to Exandria Limited's pre-production, and because that was not live, and because they spend like a lot of time working on these campaigns and there's characters before filming. Shocking, I know. There's a lot of pre-production stuff that goes on. Turns out there was evidence that the character was created by Amy Carrero first anyway during pre-production before this lady started streaming with her character.
I will out one thing about Chesh is that pre-production involves in read this, and then 20 minutes before she turns on her computer.
Yeah.
And then maybe we have 5 minutes of pre-production discussion.
True facts. Maybe, sometimes, if you're lucky. I was just really, like, Steve will back you up on this, because sometimes I get annoyed because he calls me, like, an hour early, and I'm like, fuck off! I'm still in bed! But it gets better with this lady. I don't know what she was thinking, because she tried to go to she tried to give shit to Critical Role for ripping off her character, and then she was referred to their legal department. Then she did a TikTok saying that her talks with the legal department didn't go well, and it came out that basically she was like, give me credit and put me on the show or else. They basically tried to blackmail them. It's like, what are you doing?
Not how any of this works.
It was so bizarre. So bizarre. Allegedly, there's also, like, another thing, and I didn't tell you this in pre-production, or pre-going live, whatever.
No, because we got off on the Mickey Mouse tangent.
We started talking about Mickey Mouse. Okay, so there was another thing, because this gets worse. Allegedly, again, I'm not finished reading through all this, but allegedly, she had no case anyway, because the D&D characters she was featuring were stolen from other people already.
Oh my god.
So she was ripping off other people and then saying, like, you ripped me off!
Why does this start to sound like some multi-level marketing scam?
Right?
I'd facepalm completely if I didn't have my glasses on.
Don't get me wrong, there are, like, a large number of options in D&D to build your character however the fuck you want and make it whatever the hell you want them to be. But there's still a limit to what people make. I made an edgy rogue that has a dark cloak, and he's, like, sits in the corner, and it's like, well, no, I own that. No, I own that. No, I own that. Come on, guys. Come on, you don't own the edgy rogue. What do you do? Well, mine wears a gold cloak, so he's less edgy, so I own that forever.
Oh, that's why it's called a Jawa hoodie zip-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do look like a Jawa in it. Oh my gosh, that's... You know, I've played D&D, I've played Forgotten Realms, I played what... I don't even remember what it was.
RuneScape with the Cabbage Lord?
I think so.
Bradicus Prime?
I think so.
All hail our Cabbagey Lord of Cabbage. Brassicus Prime? I don't remember how to say
Excuse
it.
me, I need to follow instructions.
If anybody has any questions in the chat, now is the time to ask. I do like how the Screaming Goblin is right over my face. I probably should have moved myself a little bit more to the up a little bit, but whatever. Mistakes were made. At least it wasn't the guest this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody has questions, now's the time to ask. I think there's also like a big difference. I think there's some issues when it comes to, and we talked about this also when we got into talking about Mickey Mouse and stuff, is when you're dealing with something like public domain stuff. So Disney works a lot with public domain stuff. Like, they work a lot with public domain stuff. They work with, like, stories and stuff that have been around for a very, very long time. They work with stuff like fairy tales, grim adventures, stuff that has been around for a very long time. But you'll notice that nothing that Disney ever makes it into public domain. Motherfuckers. So
Yeah,
you try and go make The Little Mermaid now, and you notice that they won't copyright strike you. They can't, because The Little Mermaid is public domain. But if you're too close to them, you're boned. You're boned.
That's exactly it. And I mean, I was hoping we wouldn't get into this part of it, because like I said, it's sticky. A lot of times what these companies will end up doing, like with Mickey Mouse, it comes down to two things: corporate personhood.
Yeah.
And the fact that all that they have to do is claim that they are developing a project, and that can be pre-production. And all that they have to do is have something that say, oh, we're going into production on X within the next 10 years.
Yeah, they did that with Sony was doing that with Spider-Man for the longest time. The reason why Spider-Man didn't go out of Sony's hands was because they keep remaking the same Spider-Man over and over and over again and saying that they're always in production with Spider-Man, which is why they never lost it. Yep.
And that's why we have the Richard Corbin version of Fantastic Four. He did that very, very quickly with very, very little money to keep the trademark.
Yes. And so sometimes that's why the secret reason we've just revealed of why sometimes shitty sequels exist. Especially remember all those VHS to fucking straight to DVD, straight to VHS things?
Oh my god. You mean every Jean-Claude Van Damme movie since the year 1999?
That was just to keep the name Jean-Claude Van Damme.
And he's still doing it? Oh, wait a minute. No, he did that one series on Amazon Prime, which is actually pretty freaking funny. Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That was fucking hilarious.
But I think some of this conversation will have to be saved for the Discord when it comes to, like, let's talk about Mickey Mouse. So.
Oh, God. Excuse me. Must follow instructions again.
Apply directly to the forehead.
And wipe downwards.
So, if you are part of the Discord, if you are a member or you're a Patreon, you will be able to join us in these discussions where we go a little bit further. Sometimes we go into talking about a little bit more crazy, weird things, and we tangent a little bit more. I was actually really impressed with us today. We stayed, like, on topic, but that's probably because this topic is, like, absurd. It's huge. There's so much, like, you want to really get into, like, corporations being people, you can run into so much shit, and copyright is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's actually the tip that not very many people talk about. So,
well, copyright and trademark, you've got to discuss them both together when you're talking about corporations. Marvel, DC, Disney, Sony, Warner Brothers, all these things, you've got to bring in copyright and trademark at the same time. So
yeah. Then you've got international things, especially when you're talking about Disney, Pixar, and you start talking about Studio Ghibli. So.
Oh my god. I freaking love Studio Ghibli.
So, anyone who wants to have this discussion further, we will be over in the Discord, whenever we're over there, because we're in there all the time. So, if you're interested in those conversations, become a member, become a Patreon. If you are a member, the link to the Discord is in the community tab. I usually try to remember to refresh that link every so often because it does go out. If it did go out, leave me a comment and I'll get it re-put out. Also, if you see any critters and any fellow Critical Role fans or any fellow artists or any fellows that seem to be having trouble with this, send them this video. Share this video around so people, because this this write-up is such a good way and made the conversation so clear and concise about what you can and what you can't do. Just keep in mind that not all of them are going to be the same, and some will limit you in their entirety. So
Absolutely.
share it around, let people know so people can stop freaking out that your fan art, your fanfic is safe. You don't have to worry about it too much. And we're going to get out of here.
Unless you're charging $5 a download.
You're right, yeah. So, you have any last words?
Not really. I'll just toss out, come find me on my own YouTube channel. On Twitter, I dropped my handle in the live chat a couple of times. It's not that hard to find me.
We'll get that added to the description.
Sounds good. And my website is shattered.cc.
Sweet. We'll see you guys over there. Have fun, everybody. I hope everybody has a good week. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.